Ready? Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andy, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. I want to start where we always start, news on new jobs and new opportunities for our Kentucky families. Already in 2025, we're seeing new investment in jobs as companies make Kentucky their new Kentucky home. Where speed to market is fast, business costs are low, and our workforce is unmatched. Since I took office, we've now announced over 1,100 private sector new location or expansion projects with a record total $35 billion in announced investments and over 60,000 new Kentucky jobs. And that momentum is leading to exciting updates from across Kentucky. Today, the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority approves 7 projects for state incentives. If they all come in, it'll be $80.7 million in new investments that would create 425 full-time jobs for Kentuckians. Among those approvals are Cornbread Hemp investing $1 million and creating 50 jobs in Jefferson County. Earthbreeze Inc. investing $5.9 million and creating 226 jobs in Mercer County. And Marquette Transportation Company investing nearly $6 million and creating 55 jobs in McCracken County. First, Earthbreeze. They are a producer of environmentally friendly laundry detergent sheets. They announced plans this morning to locate a nearly $5.5 million facility in Harrodsburg, creating 226 Kentucky jobs. Excuse me. The new positions will span various skill levels and departments, from facility director and production operations to administrative associates and managers. The company's partnered with more than 800 shelters, community organizations, and disaster relief groups to provide 300 million loads of detergent to those in need. Across the U.S. and around the world, Earthbreeze has also sponsored the cleanup of nearly 1 million pounds of plastic. Kentucky is home to countless companies working to create a better tomorrow for all Kentuckians, and this investment from Earthbreeze is a great new example of that happening. This project will create quality jobs and opportunities for the Harrodsburg community, and I'm excited to see this innovative company succeed. I also want to highlight an exciting project in our booming distribution and logistics sector. Marquette Transportation Company, a leading independent provider of barge towing services on America's inland waterways, announced plans to expand current operations at its Paducah facility. The project is nearly a $6 million investment, creating 55 new Kentucky jobs. Marquette is adding a new training center, warehouse, and additional office space, doubling their current square footage. The increase in jobs will bring the company's total Kentucky employment to over 340. I want to thank Marquette Transportation's leadership for their continued belief in the Commonwealth, and I look forward to their success. We also saw growth in the manufacturing sector this morning as Cornbread Hemp, a producer of full-spectrum organic CBD products, will expand its Louisville operation with a $1 million investment, creating another 50 full-time Kentucky jobs. With this expansion, their total Kentucky employment is now over 100 people. Kentucky's rich tradition in the hemp industry dates back over 250 years and remains a key piece of our state's agricultural landscape today. This project's generating new jobs for the Louisville area and adds to the growing list of Kentucky companies choosing to reinvest in their community. We're proud to have company founder Jim Higdon with us today to tell us more about the latest expansion. Jim? We're grateful.
Thank you, Governor. Really appreciate it. Really proud to be here with my cousin and our company CEO, Eric Zipperly, in the back. We started this company ourselves, the two of us, and now, to your point, we're employing more than 70 people here in Kentucky, and with this additional investment, we'll be able to employ more than 100 people to continue the Kentucky tradition of growing hemp in Kentucky. It's the best place in the world to grow hemp, and we're proud to be growing it right here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Thank you, Governor. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. The final approval from our Build Ready site development program was also announced today as Knox County was approved for nearly $2.8 million to promote future investment and economic development job growth. Knox County Fiscal Court, in partnership with the Knox County Industrial Development Authority, is acquiring more than 1,500 acres designated as the Middle Fork Richland property to establish a new industrial park. The total project investment is expected to be $5.5 million. Now to this month's storm. This is our 13th federally declared disaster here in Kentucky just since I became governor. We have certainly had our share of severe weather events. So we know better than anyone how important it is to be aware and prepared for whatever comes our way. That is why I signed a proclamation to recognize Severe Weather Awareness Week, which starts Saturday, March 1st and goes through March 7th. This week, Kentuckians should take action to protect themselves, their families, and their communities from potential severe weather. I want to thank our partners, the Kentucky Division of Emergency Management, the National Weather Service, local emergency management agencies, first responders, and more for their dedication to keeping Kentuckians safe during severe weather events. You are all true Kentucky heroes. Throughout the week, these folks will emphasize the importance of having a family emergency plan, putting together an emergency supply kit, and staying informed about weather alerts and warnings. I urge all Kentuckians to take the time to review their emergency plans. If you don't have one, make one. We've been through so much, we should all be prepared. One way you can participate is by taking part in our annual tornado drill on Wednesday, March 5th at 10:07 a.m. Eastern Time or 9:07 a.m. Central Time. You can contact your local emergency management or your local National Weather Service office for more information. Let's just take this week to remember all the disasters we've been hit by, but how each time we've been better prepared, and how if all of our families are better prepared, we can have better outcomes each time. So I want to move from that to providing another update on our storm recovery. Yesterday, I was out in some of our hard-hit communities in Perry and in Knott counties to visit temporary registration intake centers. And the week before, I was in Pike County. What I saw once again was Kentuckians living out their faith and their values, helping each other. I wanted to be there because I know these communities are hurting again. They've been hit hard in 2022 and hit again here in 2025. And I wanted them to know that our promise that we made and that we are keeping from 2022 is still here today, that we are going to rebuild every structure, we're going to rebuild every life, and that applies to everyone harmed in this latest flooding, just like it did for those impacted in 2022. And yesterday afternoon, I was able to meet and thank Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler, who visited Frankfort after viewing flooded areas in eastern Kentucky. We remain thankful that President Trump and Secretary Noem quickly granted our request for an expedited major disaster declaration. And like I said yesterday, there was zero politics involved. There was nothing at all that was demanded from us. They were just doing the right thing by our people, and we are grateful for that. The funds it opens up are critical for our communities and our families. We appreciate their support for our people who are hurting right now. In the days since the flooding, we've seen a fast response, including securing the original emergency disaster declaration that Secretary Noem got done incredibly quickly. Then we saw this expedited major disaster declaration for 11 counties, and more counties can be added as long as they qualify as needed. It's important to remember that additional designations and counties can be added at a later date, and what we're doing is working through damage assessments that would provide the data we need to make those adds. Again, the disaster declaration opens up individual assistance for flood survivors, public assistance for local governments. So we've opened some state-led registration intake centers in a couple of counties. These are not the permanent centers, but FEMA, once this disaster declaration went through, wanted to get started. And I can report we've already had over 1,000 people come in and talk to FEMA representatives in these centers. I saw it yesterday in both Perry and in Knott counties. I saw FEMA representatives that had come in from all over the country talking to our people and trying to help them through the system. And good news today is we've now opened our first 2 disaster recovery centers. These are what the intake centers will move to, and they'll have more than FEMA. They'll have multiple federal and state agencies trying to help you with all your needs in one place. So the first two disaster recovery centers are in the county that was hit hardest, Pike, at the two locations you see on your screen. We're working to put this information on resources out on our website that we'll share, and the information is subject to change if the locations change. The other big news was that yesterday the U.S. Small Business Administration approved disaster loans for 22 counties. Now, today, we have some brand new information. We received approval from the federal government to allow households participating in the SNAP program to purchase hot foods with program benefits in 22 counties in Kentucky. The 22 counties include the 11 counties approved for individual assistance and the 11 adjacent counties. Also, we've taken the same step we did in 2021 and 2022 after natural disasters, and we have waived the work search requirements for unemployment insurance during the state of emergency. And we're seeking a waiver from the federal government to provide relief to Kentuckians unemployed due to the disaster. So, the biggest news for most families in all of this is that individual assistance in those 11 counties, and if we have a slide of the 11 counties, let's put it up, is now available. There are really 4 ways to apply. Number 1 is disasterassistance.gov. Number 2 is calling the FEMA hotline, 800-621-FEMA. That's 800-621-3362, or by using the FEMA app. And the last is go into your disaster recovery center. Talking to these folks is going to make your application better. And recognize that in the past, when people have gotten denials, it is primarily because an application is incomplete. And if I could give you one overall tip, don't give up. This is a program where if you qualify, there can be some money to help you out at the end. In the past, has it been difficult? Yes. Have good changes been made? Yes. And some promises have been made by this administration that could be incredibly helpful, including having ultimate decision makers on the ground here in Kentucky. When that happened in 2022, it took us a couple weeks to make it happen. Things changed significantly, and we saw the awards going up and up and up. So a couple tips. When applying, Kentuckians should make sure that number 1, they have uploaded their documents online via the FEMA app or by visiting disasterassistance.gov. You're going to have to get those documents uploaded. Number 2, your damaged home has to be your primary residence, and you're going to have documentation of that. Number 3, you're going to have to show you haven't received assistance for the same losses from another source. What that means is if you had flood insurance, you're going to have to pursue it first, that we all know it is far too expensive and far too few people have it. And finally, when you apply, when you put your phone number or your email down, you got to answer that phone and you got to check that email. One of the biggest causes that we can't get people through the process is that people don't pick up numbers that they don't recognize. Well, FEMA will be reaching out to you by that number to talk through any concerns with your application. FEMA also asks that we share the following information. FEMA personnel are visiting affected neighborhoods to assist residents with federal assistance applications, status checks, and resource connections. After applying for FEMA assistance, some applicants will have to have a home inspection to assess if their home is safe and livable. Inspectors who do not decide eligibility will schedule appointments with applicants using their FEMA application number. Your FEMA application number is incredibly important. You should have that number on you at all times after you make your application. But here's the key. Remember, FEMA personnel will never ask or accept money. Their services are free and they always carry a photo ID. Sadly, after times of tragedy, we see the best of the best in our people, but we see some of the worst of humanity coming in and trying to take advantage of our people and of other people. We've already heard at least a report of someone claiming to be a FEMA official who is not. So FEMA officials will never ask you for money. They will never accept money, and they will have an ID that you can ask for, and they'll be happy to show you. If you believe you're the victim of a scam, report it immediately to local law enforcement or contact the Kentucky Attorney General's office. And remember, if you disagree with FEMA's decision, if you get turned down or you don't think you're awarded enough money, do not stop. You can file appeals online at disasterassistance.gov, but the number one thing you ought to do is go in and talk to somebody face to face at the disaster recovery centers that we're working on setting up. You can also appeal by mail or by fax. So as we mentioned, this week we got news that the U.S. Small Business Association has approved disaster loans for 22 counties. Those are the 11 in individual assistance, adjacent counties, and also contiguous counties in Virginia, 4 counties there for economic injury only, and 2 in West Virginia. Applications for disaster loans may be submitted online using the My SBA Loan portal at lending.sba.gov or at locally announced disaster recovery locations. We're going to try to get them all in the disaster recovery centers. If they are in a different location, we will publicize that, as will local county judges and others. Today, we're also announcing that the Kentucky Department of Revenue will provide tax relief for individuals and businesses in the state of Kentucky affected by severe storms, straight line winds, flooding, and landslides that began on February 14th, 2025. This relief is an extension of your amount of time to file. So what that means is taxpayers whose filing deadline is on or after February 14th, 2025 until November 3rd, 2025, that are looking to file Kentucky income taxes and submit tax payments for individual income, corporate income tax, or other taxes will have extra time. The IRS is also providing this relief for federal taxes. We'll get out exactly what that date. Oh, so let me back up. The extension allows affected taxpayers whose filing deadline is on or after February 14th. They will have until November 3rd, 2025 to file their taxes. That is the extension that provides that relief. So thank you to the Department of Revenue. Thank you to the IRS. And folks, remember, we're in this together and we keep trying to find different ways to help out. Some will be big, some will be small. We hope that they all come together and show that the people of this state love you and that your state government and your federal government are trying to do their very best to help. We're still holding today at 23 confirmed fatalities, but that's tough. That is a lot of fatalities. But when we look at being hit by a flood, a snowstorm, and then really dangerously cold temperatures all back to back to back, we got hit really hard. And remember, these are 23 children of God taken far too soon. There are 23 families and communities that are hurting. So please pray for them. And if you know one of these families, call them, offer your support. And not just today. Know they're going to need some extra help next week, next month, and in the years to come. For those that want to help these families and others, consider donating to the Team Kentucky Storm Relief Fund. To donate, visit anyky.gov website and click at the banner on the top. As of this morning, the funds raised are $432,000 from 3,433 donors. Remember, no administrative costs at all with this fund. Fully transparent. You can file an open records request if you live in Kentucky and see how we spend every dollar. This week, Humana announced a $100,000 pledge to the fund. We've also received a generous donation of $50,000 from the Kentucky Association of Health Plans and $10,000 from the Ursuline Society and Academy in Louisville. We've also received a donation from current UK coach Mark Pope and former UK coach John Calipari. We thank all of them, from the companies to the individuals, for being there for your Kentucky neighbors. It's greatly appreciated. And we've already talked to one family that was struggling to unlock bank accounts and life insurance. And when they got the call that the funeral will be taken care of, it just lifted a little bit of weight off their shoulders. It's just one way we've seen where we know that we can help out. We still have 4 shelters across the state. That's down from 15 We have 269 people at 6 state parks occupying 101 rooms. We are activating our travel trailer program, and we'll have some of the first residents in travel trailers either today or in the coming days. Still too early to know exactly how large that program will be. It'll certainly be smaller than in 2022, but it's going to be needed for a certain number of families. We're down to only 68 state roads or bridges closed. 50 are still due to flooding, 18 to rock slides and mudslides. Some of the hard work we're working on now is debris removal. In many ways, this is more challenging than in 2021 or 2022 because the debris is so spread out. It is statewide. There will be more counties that are engaged in debris removal. So working with our counties on a program that will work for them and that will qualify for reimbursements as they are done with FEMA or with other organizations. The SAFE Fund we're working on with the state legislature is going to be really important to helping on that. On the SAFE Fund, productive conversations are going on right now. We've seen an incredible willingness from our General Assembly to help, only positive things to say about how that's proceeding. And I'm really optimistic that we're going to get something this session because everybody seems to want to help. And remember, the process is important because there were additions from legislative leaders that were really beneficial in how we put this together, both for the West and the East. And so look forward to continuing to work with our legislature to try to get one of these funds in place as soon as we can, but to get it done correctly. As a reminder, we're working on long-term housing on high ground to make sure that we can move our families out of areas that flood and they never have to worry about it again. Work has begun on 7 high ground communities, and we hope these new Kentucky homes will offer a bright, safe future to those that are impacted by this flooding. You may qualify for that high ground housing that we started after the 2022 floods. You can go to housingcan'twait.org and complete a needs assessment. And then Fahi, who's got a bunch of great people that work for them, will follow up with you. They want to make it as user-friendly, as person-friendly as possible. So they're going to give you a call and talk through your needs and whether you qualify. Finally, there's so many people to thank for their dedication and hard work, from every single first responder, our Kentucky State Police, Kentucky National Guard, Fish and Wildlife, transportation crew members, local police, fire and EMS, local transportation crews, to other states, volunteers, donors, and more. We're out of the emergency phase. We're in the stabilization phase, and we'll work as hard as we can to move into the rebuilding phase as quickly as we can. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our First Lady, who's got a number of great updates, and then I will be back up to take questions.
Good afternoon. First, I'm happy to announce that this year's Shop and Share event raised $349,370 in cash and in-kind donations to support survivors of domestic violence. Thank you to Zero V, Kroger, all participating grocery stores, and every Kentuckian who donated. You've made this possible. Those supplies are going to help families to rebuild their lives. Second, I want to thank everyone who rolled up their sleeves with me and Andy to donate blood in our Capitol Rotunda this week. You'll probably never meet the person who will receive that donation, but you may have helped save their life. These acts of kindness are how we show love and take care of each other, especially as our state recovers from another natural disaster. Next, I want to congratulate Russell County on successfully enrolling 85% of your preschool students in Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. This is the highest enrollment level in the state. Last week, I got to visit the Russell County Public Library and Jamestown Elementary to celebrate this milestone. Dolly Parton's Imagination Library provides free books, one per month, for children from birth to age 5. All Kentucky kids are eligible. All you have to do as a parent is sign up. It's very easy to do. You just go to imaginationlibrary.com. It's completely free, and it will help your child get ready for kindergarten and have a lot of fun. Next, we have some good news for our executive branch state employees. We've been working hard to make sure the Commonwealth is an employer of choice, and that includes making sure that Kentucky is leading the way when it comes to employee benefits. During Andy's time as governor, he has secured 4 of the largest across the board pay increases for our state employees that we are aware of. That's after several years without raises. His team has also started our Second Chance Employment Program, a paid internship program, leadership programs, and first day insurance coverage for new employees. State employees also have a robust leave package that includes sick, compensatory, and annual leave. And in December, we announced that we are working to offer eligible state employees 6 weeks of additional paid leave for serious health conditions or when they welcome a new child through birth, adoption, or foster care. This work has a real impact that can be seen in the state's hiring and retention, especially in critical and hard to fill roles. But there's more we can do. One thing we have heard time and time again is that a lack of affordable and accessible childcare can be a significant barrier for parents returning to the workforce. That's why I'm excited to announce that the Personnel Cabinet will be piloting the opening of a childcare center in Frankfort by January 1st, 2026 to serve executive branch employee families. The Team Kentucky Child Care Center will be located at the Rosenwald building on the campus of Kentucky State University. Anticipated hours of operation will be 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. at a minimum, Monday through Friday. The Child Care Center will enroll children ages 1 to 5. The number of children and families served will be determined by the operator of the center, but the hope is to provide an affordable childcare option in Frankfort to as many of our state government employee families as possible. The request for proposals for those interested in operating the Child Care Center is currently posted on the Finance and Administration's website. This is the right thing to do for our state employees who have dedicated their career to helping others. They are the people who do so much for our families that it's time we help them take care of theirs. We care about Team Kentucky employees, and we will keep fighting for them. Thank you to Personnel Cabinet Secretary Mary Elizabeth Bailey for her work to make sure state government is an employer of choice right here. In Kentucky, we do our very best for those who have chosen a life of public service. That also means we've made it a priority to honor our veterans. Our military veterans are truly the best among us. We honor those who fought on our behalf, and in our defense. We thank those who sacrificed their time, their health, and their lives. We pray for those who continue to serve. That's why we're proud that our Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs has won 4 straight awards for customer service. That means our veterans are getting their benefits faster and easier than other states. It's why we broke ground on the new Louisville VA Medical Center, which is set to include a women's health clinic. And we made good on the state's pledge to build a 5th facility for veterans, the new Bowling Green Veterans Center. We also opened a new exhibit at the Kentucky Historical Society, honoring Kentucky women veterans and their significant military contributions. We want to recognize and honor veterans during their lives and also when they've passed away, which is why I am proud to announce that for the first time, 3 Kentucky veteran cemeteries have been recognized by the National Cemetery Administration for their outstanding work. They are the Kentucky Veteran Cemetery Southeast, the Kentucky Veteran Cemetery Central, and Kentucky Veteran Cemetery North. I'm proud that the Team Kentucky members who work at those facilities are being honored. I want you to know, while your efforts often happen behind the scenes, they do not go unnoticed. Over the past 20 years, they have conducted burial honors for more than 22,000 veterans. These Kentuckians work every day to ensure our veterans and their families receive the respect and honors that they deserve. Thank you. Last thing before I hand it back over to Andy is our Team Kentucky All-Stars. This week, we want to thank everyone across Kentucky who came together to help with response and recovery during the recent weather and flooding. We've continued to keep you updated on Kentucky's response to this disaster from the Emergency Operations Center. You got to see firsthand how teams from all those across state government come together to help save lives. Many of those people drove in from across the state, leaving their families behind to make sure each and every community had the information and resources they needed. In addition to the team we saw working long hours at the EOC, in every single county and city across Kentucky, we saw state employees, emergency personnel, local officials, and first responders jump into action to keep our people safe. Our road crews worked through long nights plowing our roads and clearing landslides. Our state parks opened their doors to Kentuckians who had lost so much. Emergency personnel made sure our people received the medical treatment they needed. First responders jumped into waters to save lives. And our Kentucky State Police, National Guard, and Fish and Wildlife teams showed they will use any means necessary to help our people, using boats and helicopters to rescue hundreds of civilians trapped by floodwaters. They also delivered food and other life-saving supplies. Countless stories of heroic efforts, and we thank each and every one of you. You all have saved lives, and you've helped folks who are hurting. We cannot thank you enough. You are true Team Kentucky All-Stars. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Andy.
Thank you to the First Lady for carrying about half the Team Kentucky update today. Okay, we have one journalist in studio and 4 on the line, so we'll start with McKenna.
Kind of going back to discussions with lawmakers about recovery efforts, is there anything specific that you would like to see in a relief package, like specificated to something specific?
So when we look at what we're talking to lawmakers about, we're not reinventing the wheel. Our SAFE funds were very similar from the Western Kentucky tornadoes and then the Eastern Kentucky floods. What I'd like to see in this one is a little more flexibility between 2 of the 3 pots that were there to be able to move money where it's needed a little bit easier. This one thing that's going to be different as we think about it is the debris removal. It is not localized, even though there's more in some places. It is statewide. And so thinking through how the fund can be used to activate that is probably our biggest challenge as we look going forward. But as long as we can get the right general structure in place, which we've worked with, I'm very confident that we can get a fund that works. All right, on the line, we've got Tom Latek, because it wouldn't be an update without Tom Latek.
Thank you, Governor. I was just going to express my sympathies to you because Winnie left with the First Lady. I just noticed that. But I was wondering, since Senator McConnell made his announcement official the week before last, are you giving any consideration to that seat in 2026, or perhaps another one in DC that comes open in 28?
Where I am is loving my job. And even in the toughest times, even in going to communities that have been hit hard, I know I'm right where I'm supposed to be. So to everybody who is going to be digging out and rebuilding, I can tell you I'm with you at least the next 2 years, 7 months. I'm serving out this full term. Will not run for that Senate seat because I made my promise to be the best governor I can be, and I can't imagine a better job out there. After that, we'll figure out the future in the future, but just everybody out there, I'm proud to be your governor. I'm proud of everything we're doing in Kentucky. I'm proud of the record-setting economic development. I'm also proud that while we've been hit a ton, we keep getting up. And it's just amazing to see Kentuckians helping out other Kentuckians each and every time. I hope we don't have another weather event, though. I think we have been through enough of those since I become governor. But no, love being governor. Going to serve out this whole term. Karen Czar, WEKU.
Good afternoon, Governor. Thank you. Yesterday, Secretary Noem said that she and the Trump administration are looking to reform FEMA, not cut FEMA. And if there were cuts, it would be with administration and not funding to the states in a disaster. And as you mentioned earlier, you've been through 13 of these in your administration alone. In seeing the changes that have happened through Kentucky's disasters with FEMA, where do you hope the agency goes from here? Thank you.
Well, first, want to again thank President Trump, Secretary Noem, and the acting administrator from FEMA. Our interactions have only been positive. Their actions have only been helpful. Credit should be given where credit is due, and I'm grateful for all of their response. With all the talk about the future of FEMA, FEMA still showed up and is doing its job, and we've gotten really good response every time we've raised an issue. I also want to say Secretary Noem has listened to our concerns from 2022 and shared some of them already, as did the acting administrator. So when I think about FEMA, I think that they are really important in two of the three phases I see in disaster recovery. The first is the emergency response. The second is the stabilization, and the third is rebuilding. And FEMA plays a big role in the first two. So they never get talked about in the emergency response, but they help us surge resources. They help us bring in conservation officers from Indiana. They help us add to our boat teams. They help us find more helicopters that are able to do rescues like we did from an apartment complex and almost had to do from a hospital. FEMA never gets credit for this piece, but they also don't and shouldn't get criticism. They are a huge asset in that emergency response phase, and basically bringing people from all over the country that, like us, have done this a lot, but it means that there are more people there ready, willing, and able to help. The second piece, which is the stabilization phase, I think that's where more of the criticism for FEMA has come from. And that is the challenge of individual assistance and how you qualify. I have seen significant changes made from 2021 to 2022, and especially during our experience in 2022. While it was frustrating, and while we saw way too many people denied at different phases, we pushed hard and we didn't take no for an answer. And we as Kentuckians got changes made that have helped in every disaster since. One of the most important things that we learned is that your key decision makers have to be on the ground in the state where the people are applying for disaster assistance. That's been promised to us in this one. That occurred a little late, but still occurred in 2022. The second thing that we knew was critically important was that we didn't just see denials, that we saw FEMA reach back out and work with anybody who had been denied so that they could understand the how and the why. One of the biggest PR problems that FEMA faced was that anybody whose application was incomplete didn't get an incomplete, they just got a denial. And the way the system worked didn't tell you why and didn't tell you what you could do and how you could appeal. And really, the Disaster Recovery Center as it exists now, we helped put together really in 2022, learning from 2021, in that if we could bring our driver's license group, our vital statistics for death records, marriage records, our insurance group, we could put them all in the same place with FEMA, then we could solve some of the issues that our people had. So all those are some important changes we've made. And then FEMA talked through some changes, the acting administrator that they're making, especially to their application process that probably won't be here for this disaster, but would be really beneficial for the next set. So I do believe that we see people working really hard. And I want to finally close by saying we've got a lot of people in our communities that were hit hard that came from other states, left their families, and they want to help our people. Oftentimes, they don't have the final decision-making authority, but they are there to help. So as Kentuckians, let's be patient with them. I know everybody going in has been through trauma, and I know everybody going in needs help now, but remember, these people want to help and will do their best to help you. So very long answer, Karen, but I now think I know the FEMA process pretty well. And what it means when they're here, though, is that there is money available. We just got to push through and don't give up and get our people there to get some relief. Richard Essex, WDRB.
Thank you, Governor. Appreciate your time this afternoon. We've got a question about the Kennedy Bridge. From our reporting, there's been problems with the bridge going back to 2016. And here we get another email from the Transportation Cabinet saying that there are problems again. What's the cabinet told you about the safety of this bridge and when we're going to get some permanent repairs?
So the transportation cabinet sent me information on it, saying they're working diligently to resolve it. The current issue is related to voids in the concrete that couldn't be seen during the construction of the bridge. Once our engineers found this issue, they've been making different temporary repairs in 2021 and last year, for example, while they were working on a full replacement project. Repairs help, but the cycle of trucks hitting the joint, especially one on the Indiana side, means the whole joint structure needs to be replaced. So we've awarded a joint replacement contract earlier this month. It's a $6.9 million contract. What we're doing is we're manufacturing steel joints now, and once that's complete, full replacement will start by this summer at all locations, at this location first, at the one that's been hit the hardest, but all joints on the bridge will be replaced. The bridge is still structurally sound, but the joints are components of the bridge that allow for thermal expansion and contraction due to weather changes, which we get, it seems, every week. So listen, we know anytime a bridge has lanes that are closed, it's tough. It takes more time to get where you need to go. But in this instance, we want to make sure that our people are safe. And I think through this plan, we are hopefully getting to a more permanent fix where folks won't see every year or every other year a couple lanes being closed. That's certainly my goal as governor. The roads and bridges that you drive are as important as just about anything else in our lives. We rely on them to be accessible. We rely on them to be safe. And I'm going to be following this project closely to make sure that we get it done right. And finally, Gil McClanahan.
Hi, Governor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. My question is, this morning, the Republicans held a press conference. It was, I think, a committee hearing on Senate Bill 1 establishing the Kentucky Film Office. On one hand, it obviously brings an economic impact to an area, well as helps promote the state. But on the other hand, I've read some articles that say that in some states, their promised subsidies don't pay for themselves. Instead of permanent jobs, these are short-term jobs, and basically, the concept is not all as cracked up to be. My question is, as far as tax credits to bring productions to Kentucky, where do you, in principle, where do you stand on this issue?
Well, in principle, I think film tax incentives are a good tool to spur economic development. What you have to do is find the right balance. And I believe in the level of incentives we currently provide and in the current system through the Economic Development Cabinet, we seem to have it right. I think in our former film incentive program, we had some things that needed to be changed. And what we saw as different projects that a state probably shouldn't have been involved in still qualified, and we had to provide that funding. I think previous legislation, I think from Senator Stivers on that one too, that recreated the film tax incentives was a good thing. And I think they've been used well. And what we've seen is major motion pictures being filmed in Kentucky, some of which that really display Kentucky. I still want to review this bill. I've had a quick read, and I don't necessarily have a problem with the structure of it. I just want to understand how it works, because I think economic development has also been doing a very good job. I can see from the overall bill that the goal is to get more of the industry involved in the commission itself, which is a laudable goal, because we've got great folks in our film industry that for many years have just scrapped in wanting to bring more to Kentucky, and now are seeing some real success. And so very excited about where the Commonwealth can go, but remembering we've got to keep that balance to make sure that this is a net positive for Kentucky. I believe in our current system, it is a net positive for Kentucky. So, okay, looks like 45 minutes today. We were doing a little better up until today, but looking forward to the next Team Kentucky update. Everybody remember, life's short. Our job is to do good things and to be kind to each other. Thank you.